Hi there, personal health and wellness. Welcome to our tutorial over how to do this specific course project, our food diary. Now, we want you to understand that this is all about you looking at an assessment over what it is that you do. I'm not looking for you to make up anything, just for you to simply document what it is that you do and then learn the process of how to identify what the nutritional value, the nutrient density, the caloric density, as well as just how much food we are eating. And so this is kind of a easy project, if you will. However, it will take you some time. What I want to do is that I want to encourage you and tell you that this is something that you will use far beyond this class. In fact, one of the things that is really unique about this is as we go through some of these items that I currently have on my food diary, these are things that I consistently think about. You know, we're all creatures of habit, and so we don't typically do like new things every week. In fact, you know, one thing that I would even submit to you is every time you go to a restaurant, you might look at a menu or look over what's available, but you pretty much have it narrowed down to one, two, three things that you know you're going to get as soon as you walk in the door. So it's kind of a basically just a process of knowing what it is that that single meal is going to do for you calorically. So let me jump in here. Now, first of all, I have filled out the entire course project with my own information. I'm not going to go through every bit of that with you in this video because I don't want to take up that much time. But please look through this document below in the attachments to see what it is that I put so that you can have a point of reference. Let's start right here. First of all, my breakfast every week isn't really a breakfast. My breakfast actually occurs right here as my snack. That's me breaking my fast. That happens generally between 10 a.m., 1 p.m. That's on days that I use that. That's just kind of when I start that. I practice time restricted feeding. I think that's a very efficient way for me to do things. I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying that's just working for me. And so when I put this down here, this is my first intake, but it's all liquids that are 0 calorie: water, black coffee, nothing in it. That's it. And so when I break my fast, and I very much enjoy doing it, I usually use a chocolate peanut butter smoothie that I make. And so you can see right here are some of the ingredients, and it all adds up to 750 calories. Well, I'm making this smoothie, and this smoothie, I can't Google search how many calories are in the smoothie because Google doesn't know what I'm putting in it. Now, if I were to break this down, I would have to look at what all goes into my smoothie. Well, I've done that for you down here, and I want you to take a look at this page. It's kind of near the bottom, but it has 1 cup of almond milk, which I have right here. And fortunately, this one does have a food label on it, and so I can go in there and I can get the fat, the carbohydrates, and the proteins right off of that, and I know how many calories are in that. I just, by the way, use an unsweetened vanilla flavored almond milk, which is super. It just tastes great. So please just understand that it takes some time though to adjust to almond milk if you're used to drinking dairy milk. I use frozen cauliflower, which has no taste, by the way. I mean, like it blends right in. What it does though, it gives it a nice creamy, cold, icy texture that kind of gives it a ice cream or maybe a milkshake kind of flavor or texture. I use Greek yogurt right here. Unfortunately, the only kind you can buy in stores, at least in Poto, is a non-fat Greek yogurt. I'm not a big fan of that. I wish I was getting the full fat. That has a lot more benefits in it. But I do recommend that you buy something that just has ingredients in it that say cultured Greek yogurt, that's all you're getting out of your yogurt there, because otherwise you're probably getting a lot of added sugars. Take a look at that when you look at the food label. We'll talk about that later. A Also, 2 tablespoons of organic peanut butter. This stuff is my favorite. Like I could eat the whole jar, but 2 tablespoons, that basically looks like a golf ball size when you pull it out. And then 2/3 of a frozen banana. What I do is I buy bananas, and as they start to kind of lose their yellow and kind of turn brown, I'll grab those bananas off and I'll chop them into thirds and I'll put them in the freezer and I'll pull a couple of those pieces out when I'm making the smoothie. And then 1 scoop of my favorite chocolate protein powder. Not trying to have a conflict of interest here, but this stuff is amazing. And I have, again, a food label on it, so I can reference all of that and plug all these things in. Now, again, the banana. How the heck do I find out what the calories are in a banana? Well, let me just show you real quick. I did a quick Google search here, and there is a banana. And here's your total calories on a medium-sized banana. Here's your protein, here's your carbs, here's your sugar. Well, all I did was I basically broke that down into 2/3. And so if it's 22, 23, 21 grams, I just kind of did the math and estimated. We're really just looking to get some knowledge here. So I broke that down and I said, hey, that's about 14 carbs, less than a gram of protein, and look at this fat down here, 0.3. I didn't even count it. Like, so you just kind of have to use some common sense when you're building this. But I kind of just roughed this up right here to start building my document. And I just kind of wanted to make it nice for you guys. So I typed it out for you. You don't have to do that. That's not an important part of this process. What we want to do is we just want to see that you're adding in those meals so that you know what you're consuming. Now, that is kind of my first meal. And you see it happens, 5 days a week, and that's not too uncommon. But take a look at this right here. If on Sunday, my family is really craving a meal out, we very commonly after church hit up Maria's or La Huerta's, both the same place, right? Sometimes we'll drive to Heavener, we'll hit up El Salea, but I am a big Mexican food fan. In fact, if you take a look here, you're going to see just how big of a Mexican food fan I am. So I got fajitas, no tortillas. I got refried beans. On average, they're going to give you about a half a cup in any Mexican restaurant. And then about a half a cup of rice. That should say half, not 115. And then I've got here 2 chips and salsa. We'll get to that here in a second. So they don't have Maria's on Google. They don't have La Huerta's on Google. But what they do have is Mexican restaurant fajitas on Google. And I really like this website right here, Nutritionix. It works very well at nailing down just some good food labels on stuff that we're eating. And so I did that, and I found fajitas without tortillas. And so there it is, my chicken fajitas without tortillas. There's my fat. Here's my carbs. Here's my protein. Again, I had 3 of those fajitas. And what I'm basically doing is taking and shoveling out the insides of that fajita off onto my side plate, and I mix it all up just because that's what I like to do. And there's my breakdown right there. So I went right back over here and I plugged it all in, and I even came down here and got it going for this right here. And there you go. There's my Sunday breakdown right there because, there's my carbs, there's my fats, there's my proteins, all of that plugged in. And actually, I put that on Sunday. This is a Saturday, and I'm going to show you that one here in a minute. But there it is. So I don't have La Huerta's. I don't have Maria's. Look, I don't have a way to plug that in. And here's my biggest pushback is some people will say, hey, look, I cook all my own food. I can't Google search that and provide that. Yes, you can. You're just going to have to break down what it is that you're putting in your food. Here's another great example. I fundamentally have found that the best part of going ketogenic for 1 year of my life was the fact that I found something called the chaffle, which is a mozzarella cheese based waffle. And before you go all crazy, immature, yuck, listen, you don't know what you're missing. It's amazing. And then take a look here. It does exactly what it's supposed to do because it's high fat, it's low carb, and it has great protein. Now, I pair this thing with a ham, an egg, lettuce, and mayo and make this sandwich that's incredible. Here's the recipe that I use, and I just mix all that together in a mixing cup, and I scoop it all out into my waffle maker, and it makes this gorgeous Belgium-looking waffle. I cut that dude in half. There's my bread. It has only things that I know that are in it instead of bleached, processed sugar, flour, crazy stuff that's going to probably not do my body very good. And so, you know what? There it is. Now, I'm not saying that you should make all of your own stuff. I mean, there's some really high quality stuff out there, but there it is. And I just took and broke down the recipe. Listen, all of these things could be found on Google, or I can just look at the back of the package for psyllium husk, for mozzarella, for baking powder, for almond flour, even on my egg cartons. Some people are like, well, I raise my own eggs. I have no idea. Listen, Google has an idea. So don't do that to yourself. Make it easy. Just hit a Google search and find what it is. Here's 2 more eggs. Man, I'm getting a lot of eggs on this meal, but that's okay because I like eggs, and eggs are good. Even the yolks. Yes, eat the yolks. They're good. Here's you 1 slice of ham. And what I did was I buy most of my ham, at least the ham that is consumed in sandwich form. I have hams that I buy, but this was sandwich meat. I buy that at a local deli, Dave's. Let me give a shout out to them. No conflict of interest, but they are rock stars. And there you go. There's 1 sliced medium ham. And so I'm basically just going through. Here's some Nutrition X Mexican refried beans. So there's again where I got that. And here's my Spanish rice. And so let me go back though. There's one really critical component that I kind of skipped through here, and that is my chips and salsa. A lot of us think, oh gosh, Kendall ate 2 big bowls of chips and salsa. That's 2 servings. That's not really true. Let me break your hearts just for a minute here. I've got some on the border chips. It's the closest thing you can buy and then get a food label with. You know, they're a restaurant, a really good restaurant, by the way. And they got a food label on the back here. And I just want you to notice, and almost exclusively chips and salsa, biggest trap you're ever going to fall into, at least if you're me, is look at this right here. And what I want you to see is how many servings are in, or how many chips are in 1 serving. That's 1 ounce. That's 10 chips. Now, do you go to Maria's and count out your chips? I don't. I'm just hoping that it was 2 servings. It was probably more like 3 or 4. But what we know is those calories add up fast. So 1 serving, this is saying 2 ounces. That one says 1 ounce. Always defer to the more. So there you go. And you can see how fast chips and salsa add up. Especially when it comes to your carbohydrate count and your calorie count. There's just a lot of density there that we don't always account for. So that's kind of where you start. One more real quick for you here that I want to show off is, and there's my Maria's dinner, all of that information right there. And then one more that I kind of wanted to pick on, and this is probably the worst thing that I do. So I'm making all my confessions right here. Is I really like to go out some nights and do pizza with my family. And one of my favorites is a Pizza Hut pepperoni pizza. And almost exclusively, I try to stay at buying a medium. That way, there's not a lot to take home and I'm not going to eat it all night long. But for me, I try to limit myself, and this is tough, to 4 slices of that. And so I also really like their buffalo wings. Well, each one of those wings is around 100 calories a piece. Each piece of medium pepperoni pizza is a roughly 220 calories. And so here's basically what I did. I went in and I did my Google search here, and really the thing is Pizza Hut has an amazing setup. They're already telling you what everything is. But here it is right here. All the pizzas, this is in larges right here. And so you're going to have to probably accept that you may have to type in a medium. Well, take a look at what popped up down here. Pizza Hut Nutritional Guide 12-inch medium. That's a pan pizza, which is going to have more calories than a thin crust, which is what I like. And there's nothing really specific other than I just like that texture. And so if I go down here and I click on the pepperoni pizza, that's going to give me that. Or I can just go right back to this really nice PDF right here that you first saw. And it gives me everything from Pizza Hut all the way down to like their ranch dressing, right? And so here it is. This PDF is wonderful. It talks about how many grams in one slice, how many calories. There's your carbohydrates right here, your proteins right here, even talks about sugars. So there it all is. And basically, what I did was I broke this thing down and I did this for Saturday. Here's my smoothie, and then here is my Pizza Hut. And here's what this does for me, guys. This breaks this down to where I know that if I have 4 pieces of pizza and I have 4 wings, I'm going to get 1,280 calories. Now, a lot of us are like, that's a lot of calories. Yeah, but come over here. This is my meal at Maria's, 1,887 calories, and that was off of 2 servings of chips. That's 20 chips. That's the beans that you get on the plate with your fajitas. That's the rice. That's the fajitas, no tortillas. And listen, I didn't even count the sour cream and guacamole. So, just to keep things on a level, this is what this is for, is to break down and help you understand, okay, I can get away with 4 pieces of pizza because it's easy for me to break down that 1,280 calories are acceptable into my diet. And then you add that 750 onto it. Well, man, look at that. I'm cruising right around 2,000. And then if I go down here to my BMR and then I add in any activity, hey, I'm good. I'm not going over, right? And so that's how I avoid unnecessary weight gain is I have knowledge over what it is that I'm eating. This is an important tool. Please don't take it for granted. Work hard on this. Make a standard. That way you know exactly what it is that you eat in the places that you like to go. Listen, if I'm going to Maria's, I'm going to eat the fajitas. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. What I may do though is I may limit a little bit of what else I eat that day. Maybe I didn't have venison chili with 2 sides of Fritos, which is amazing, by the way. Oh, and by the way, let me show you this. So with venison, a lot of people are like, hey, look, I don't know how much. Okay, all I did, again, 1 pound ground venison right there. And 1 pound is 16 ounces. They're saying that this is 3 ounces. That doesn't jive too well. But you can kind of do the math and say, okay, that's a quarter pound roughly. And there you go. There's your calories. Here's your fat, which is pretty low. I mean, that's what venison. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, let me just kind of break away from trying to sound smart and intelligent and refined. This is just good old deer meat right here. I love this stuff, and no carbs. Big on protein, super good for us because listen, that dude was running for its life when I killed it, and that's all it ever did. It ate completely organic foods that it found on the side of the hill, right? So it's a good product. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to take off on this, go with it, take a look at my resources that I included in every exercise, see what I wrote, and that let that lead you through what it is that you're looking to add. I hope that you will email me if you have any questions, and I hope that the process goes for you very smoothly, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.